All right, let's get into it. Today, we're cracking open the playbook that nobody ever hands you on your first day of a new job. We're going to decode all those subtle, powerful, and, let's be honest, often confusing social dynamics of the office. And we're going to do it by looking at them through the lens of something we all share: basic human nature. You know that feeling, right? Maybe you walk out of a meeting or you hear about a colleague's promotion, and you just feel like everyone else is playing a game with rules you never learned. It's this nagging sense that there's a secret language of power and influence being spoken all around you, and you're just not in on it. Well, here's the good news. That memo, it totally exists. It's just not in some corporate handbook. It's the operating system we're all running on: human nature. And once you start to understand its predictable patterns, things like envy, grandiosity, conformity, the chaos of the office suddenly starts to make a whole lot more sense. So think of this as our decoding session. Our first stop, oh, this is a big one. It's maybe the trickiest and most corrosive force you'll find in any workplace: envy. It's a quiet emotion, you know? It often disguises itself as something else entirely. But trust me, it can be incredibly destructive if you don't learn how to spot it. So what are we really talking about here? Envy isn't just, oh, I want what they have. No, it's a painful feeling that comes from their advantage. It can be passive, that quiet, simmering resentment you might feel coming off a colleague, or it can be active, and this is where it gets really dangerous, showing up as gossip, backstabbing, or even outright sabotage of your work. So the million-dollar question is, how do you detect an emotion that people work so hard to hide? Well, there's a classic technique you can use. First, share some genuinely good news. Maybe a project went great or you got some recognition. Watch their face really, really closely in that first split second. An envier's true gut reaction is often a micro-expression of disappointment before they slap on a fake smile. Then on the flip side, mention a minor setback. See that? A quick, almost invisible flicker of pleasure in their eyes? That's called schadenfreude, and it is a huge red flag. Once you learn to spot envy, you'll start seeing certain characters pop up. First, you've got the leveler. This person wraps their envy up in the language of justice and fairness. They'll criticize ambitious people for not being team players or for getting special treatment. But here's the thing. Their real goal isn't fairness. It's to pull everyone else down to their level. Next up, say hello to the status fiend. For this person, everything is a constant comparison. They are obsessed with job titles, the size of your office, who gets invited to which meetings, all those external signs of success. They're constantly measuring their own value against yours, and if you get ahead, their envy just goes into overdrive. These are the people who might ask those slightly awkward questions about your salary just so they can figure out where you fit in the pecking order. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because envy doesn't just flow up. It can come from your boss. The insecure master is a leader who is deeply threatened by talented people on their own team. So instead of helping you grow, they might subtly downplay your wins in meetings, or take credit for your ideas, or even assign you projects they know will fail, all to protect their own fragile ego. And this is a chilling but absolutely vital point to remember. A lot of the time, envy doesn't come from your obvious rivals. It comes from people who seem to be your closest allies. They use the trust that comes with friendship to learn your weak spots, only to use that knowledge against you when their envy boils over. So, yeah, be careful who you confide in. The envy we just saw in that insecure master is one kind of toxic leadership. But there's another kind, one that's often more charismatic, but just as dangerous. That brings us to our next big challenge: the grandiose leader. These are the bosses with massive egos who live in their own little reality. They can be really inspiring at first, but they can also be dangerously out of touch with the facts on the ground. These leaders tend to operate on three key illusions. First, there's the destiny illusion. They talk about their career like it's some epic, fated journey. Second, the savior illusion. When a crisis hits, they step up with these big emotional promises to fix everything, but they're always short on actual plans. And finally, my favorite, the Midas touch illusion. Every single success is because of them, and every single failure is, without exception, someone else's fault. Honestly, the best way to deal with a grandiose leader is to just not hire one. So when you're interviewing someone, listen really carefully. Do they use the word I constantly when they're talking about team wins? Do they brush off what other people contributed? Are past failures always somebody else's fault? This checklist is brilliant. It lays out all the warning signs that you might be dealing with a dangerously inflated ego. Okay, let's pause for a second because this is a moment for a little self-reflection. Ambition is a good thing, but it is so important to know the line between healthy drive and toxic grandiosity. So ask yourself, are you fueled by a real purpose, a desire to build something, or are you fueled by a deep down need for attention? Can you take criticism, or do you tend to bend reality to protect your ego? Being honest with yourself here is absolutely key to having a long, healthy career. Okay, so we've looked at individuals, the envier, the grandiose leader, but what happens when these things play out at a group level? This section is all about navigating that immense pressure to just go along with the crowd and dealing with the subtle hostility that can really infect an entire team. Have you ever walked into a meeting and just felt a wave of tension or panic hit you, even if you had no idea why? That's emotional contagion. Moods are, quite literally, contagious. In a group, one person's anxiety or cynicism can spread like a virus and infect everyone else. We just unconsciously start to mirror the emotional states of the people around us. And this leads to maybe the most important question for anyone trying to be a positive influence at work. When the group is spiraling into negativity or groupthink, how do you stand your ground and stay objective without making yourself a total outcast? It is a very, very delicate balance. One of the biggest hurdles here is passive aggression, hostility that's disguised as being helpful or funny. A classic example is the insinuating doubt strategy. It's the backhanded compliment, like someone saying, "Wow, that presentation was surprisingly good," for someone at your level. The real goal is to plant a seed of doubt and insecurity, all while keeping up a friendly front. So, how do you fight back? First, when someone tries to shift blame, you stay calm and stick to the objective facts. When they try one of those subtle insults, the best response is no response. Show them it has zero effect on you. To build trust, you have to be the one who lets information and ideas flow freely. And most important, when a crisis hits, you have to be the calm center. Your determination can actually become the new emotional state that the rest of the group catches on to. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problems: envy, grandiosity, group pressure. Now it's time for the prescription. This last section is your personal survival kit. It's a set of daily practices to help you build resilience and have a much healthier relationship with your work and your colleagues. The antidote to envy isn't to just bottle it up, it's to transform it. There's this great German concept, Mitfreude, which means join with someone. So when a coworker has a win, don't just say congrats. Take a real moment and try to genuinely feel their happiness. See their success not as a threat to you, but as proof of what's possible. And finally, break that habit of constantly comparing yourself to people above you. Sometimes look down the ladder, not with an ego, but with gratitude for what you have. And this takes a quick, honest self-awareness check-in. At the end of the day, just hit pause and ask yourself, where did my competitive energy go today? Was I comparing myself to others in a way that just felt destructive? Did I feel that secret little thrill when a rival stumbled? The goal here isn't to judge yourself. It's about recognizing that comparative energy and consciously turning it from something negative into fuel for your own work. And when you become the target of gossip, which, let's face it, is usually just envy in disguise, your real power is in your reaction. Step 1 is to see it for what it is. Step 2 is to master your own emotions. Getting angry or defensive is exactly what the gossiper wants. And step 3 is the ultimate comeback. Just focus so intensely on your work and your purpose that all their chatter becomes nothing more than irrelevant background noise. Now, this might sound a little dramatic, but it's such a powerful mental tool. Remembering that your time and my time and your annoying coworker's time is all finite, it brings an incredible amount of clarity. All the daily dramas, the petty insults, the status games, they all shrink. It frees you up to focus your limited energy on the work and the relationships that actually give you a real sense of purpose. So, as we wrap this up, the power is really in your hands now. You've seen the unwritten rules. You've seen the human nature that drives them. The question isn't just about how to survive the game, it's about how you can change it for the better, starting with your own actions. So, which pattern will you choose to break? Which one of these unwritten rules are you going to rewrite first? That's the challenge I want to leave you with.